A very good afternoon to everyone. Welcome to Envisioning the Future of English Language Education, exploring innovations and best practices in English language teaching of ICEL 2022. My name is Almas and I am the rapporteur at ELTC, and I will be serving as your moderator for this session. Before we begin, I have a few housekeeping notes. Please mute your mobile phones during the presentation. If you have any questions for the presenters, please raise your hand at the end of the presentation to pose your questions. Please welcome Aryanti Ishak, who will be speaking to us on the predominant efference stance in reading novel.
Thank you, MCs. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, and a very good afternoon, everyone. First of all, thank you for having me here, Icel. And I'm going to be speaking to you today about part of my research, which entitled the Predominant of Efference Tenses in Reading a Novel, the elements of the reading stances, and also the contributing factors to the adoption of the efference tenses. Okay, and I would like to bring your memory to the literature component history in Malaysia. And for your information, literature component has been integrated in the year 2000s, and the aim of having this component in secondary schools are to enhance proficiency among the language learners, to develop character building, to contribute to personal development, as well as to broaden students' outlook through reading other cultures. And it is also hoped that through reading novels and or other genres in schools, the students are able to generate their opinions, to make conclusions, to give their personal response. And in fact, recent research from neuroscience agreed and suggests that reading a novel helps the students to develop empathy, to develop critical thinking, as well as encourage theory of mind. Unfortunately, the goodness of the reading a novel or study literature in schools has been overshadowed by some of the, what we call that, negative perceptions of literature component. So this perception from the previous papers mentioned that most of the students feel that the texts studied by them are taxing, burden, sometimes they cannot finish reading the novel or reading the short stories, and they don't have the interest in pursue the reading. And most of the students depends a lot on teachers. So we can see here that reading is done for the purpose of the examination or for the purpose to complete the task given by the teachers. As we can see here that a lot of papers talk about on perceptions, on teaching approaches, and also learners' attitude, but a few numbers on stances in reading. So the investigation or the papers talk about the reading stances still under study. Okay, and so this is all right. Okay, before that, I would like to explain. Since my paper is talking about the efference stances, so I would like to bring your attention to the meaning of the stance. So what is stance? Okay, so according to the Rosenblatt, stance is known as a mental set. So this is how the students orient their reading in understanding the text given. So basically, how the students understand the text, understand your readings or make meaning out of it. And according to Langer, stance means a process of all reading all texts. While Galda and Liang says that how a reader process a text given. So stance means how the students understand the text or perceive the text according to their understanding. Okay, let's look at the reading stances investigated before. So we can see here that in Malaysian context, reading stances that has been investigated more on short story. And I would say that none of them talk about how the students approach the novel or understanding the novel. So for this study, I employ a mixed method research, and I use a few instruments such as interviews, written responses, journal entries, and interviews. And we also have a video teaching for the students. And the purpose of this research is actually to investigate the reading stances specific by the students. So we want to investigate what are the actual reading stances adopted by the secondary school learners. And the findings reveal that from the questionnaire, the students believe they adopt the efferent stances when reading a novel prescribed. So the significance of the efferent stances were at literal recall, such as remembering, describing, and information driven. Okay, the efferent stance means the students read to extract the information. When they adopt the efferent stance, they read to answer the question. So in this efferent stance, normally there is no emotional evoking from them. Okay, so this is the instrument used to get the actual reading stances adopted by the secondary school learners in reading a novel. So in these written responses, journal entries, and interviews, we found that the evidence of all the three stances. But today I'm going to focus on the efferent stances. So the evidence of the efferent stances, of the aesthetic stances, and also of the critical stances. But in terms of the efferent stances, there are four types of the efferent stances adopted by the students in reading a novel. And there are no primary focus, shallow efferent, moderate efferent, primary efferent. So I'm going to focus on these four. Okay, let's look at the no primary focus where they adopted the efferent stances. So in this no primary focus, when they do the reading, when they answer the questions, so the students manage to introduce topic but ineffective. And then they produce inaccurate facts, meaning to say that they perhaps not finish their reading, or reading is incomplete. So they just skip the reading. They produce incoherent events, so they don't know which event comes first. They like to make language and spelling errors due to low proficiency among the students. And sometimes these students, under no primary focus, they produce unclear meanings. Okay, so you can see that in no primary focus, majority of the students tend to write their response just using perhaps one sentence, not complete sentence. And then they like to produce brief response. Okay, let's look at the shallow response, shallow elements for the efferent stances, which is at this stage, the students are able to introduce the topic, they're able to state the value, because in reading a novel, they should state a value for the story that found in the story. So they're able to state the character, who are the antagonists or protagonists. They're able to state plot, and they also give a brief response. And for moderate efferent, so okay, let's look at the moderate efferent stances, where in this moderate efferent stances, the students able to introduce topic in identifying values. You can see that they can identify values, they can sequence value with event, they can state the facts, emphasis more on characters, and also emphasis is more on event and plot. So in this moderate efferent, the students are able to produce moderate response. Means that you can see that not very lengthy, but moderate lengthy of responses given to the teachers in answering the questions. In primary efferent, so in this primary efferent, where they can extract the information from the story, so they're able to introduce topic, identifying values, they can stating facts, they can describe plots and event in lengthy, describe characters, talk about characters, elaborating plots, elaborating values, and they can actually giving opinions. So this is actually matched with what the literature component aim the students to, okay, what they require the students to do. So in this primary efferent, we can see that the students are able to give their opinion, to make the conclusion, and also making deduction. And why this happens? Why the students, majority of them adopt this kind of efference stances compared to the aesthetic and critical stances? Okay, so among the contributing factors were reading was done due to the information driven. We found out that most of the students actually read the story just because of the examination driven, just because to answer the questions, just because to finish to meet with the syllabus, or because of the teacher asked them to do so. And of course, definitely because they are having the exam, so they need to do the task. So this contribution actually is actually good information for the teachers, for the KPN, and for the CDCs, because it has the implications in the theoretical and also in pedagogical. So in theoretical, so we believe that the students play important role in making meaning. So these students need to understand the text, understand the step in giving before giving the opinion. So they need to read the story, they need to play active role as a reader. But in pedagogical, we see that when the students adopt or rely on different stances, we can see that teaching and learning is teacher-centered. Okay, rely on the teachers to get the answers, spoon-fed by the teachers, and which is I believe this is not something that perhaps that we need to change. We need to change if we want the students to give their genuine response. Okay, so I would like to end this presentation with a recommendation if we would like to envision the future of the English language learners. So perhaps the stand-alone subject, literature as a stand-alone subject, should be considered to the students in secondary school after many years of the integration. And also perhaps the authority of the authority or the education should revise text selection so that it meets with or caters with the reading interest of the learners. With that, I thank you.
Thank you so much to Dr. Aryanti binti Ishak for such a commendable presentation just now on the predominant of efference stances in reading a novel, elements and contributing factors. As a pre-service teacher myself, I can really relate to the points that have been conveyed by the presenter for today, and thank you yet again for such a commendable presentation.
Thank you.
So, as a token of appreciation, a certificate of appreciation will be given. So that marks the end of the presentation, but before that, we'll open the floor to Q&A session, if there's any. If you have any questions, please raise your hands and you can ask the questions to our presenter. So from the viewers on online platforms, if there's any questions, please put the questions in the comment section, and the questions will be conveyed to the presenter. So thank you so much to our presenter for today, and have a nice day.